I don't care anymore.
She wants a Barbara Streisand filter is what she wants.
Yes, I want a Barbara Streisand filter.
Let me see if I can get Sam in here. He can hold the skin back.
Yeah.
We're now live, people.
Okay.
Okay.
We're live.
Never mind the face.
I'm freezing up, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. All right, we ready?
Sure.
Ready.
Okay. Here we go.
Hello? Are you ready?
Yes.
Then we'll begin.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here. And guess what? If this episode turns out as crazy as our pre-show, you're in for something. This is Monday Morning Catholic, episode number 41.
6:30 Monday morning, I'm here hiding in my bed. A song plays on my alarm clock as I cover up my head. Somewhere in the distance, I remember yesterday singing hallelujah full of wonder.
Well, hallelujah, we do have everybody back this week. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Monday Morning Catholic. I'm your host and moderator, Joanne Mercier, and the gang is back, and we are so glad to have them. Of course, the one who's been with me this whole time, Linda Reed from St. Thomas in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm here and I'm fine.
Yes, she's put up with me the last couple of weeks, started doing this, and that's wonderful. But I am so happy to have Nancy Smith back from St. Teresa and Christopher Parish in Tiverton, Rhode Island. Good morning, Nance. How's it going?
Morning, Joanne. Morning, Linda. Everything's well. How are you? Morning, Stephen.
Good. It's about time we see you.
Yes, I know. It's been crazy.
It's been. And changing from an iPad to an iPad mini right before the show started. He needs a new iPad is Steve Romano from Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Bristol, Rhode Island. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, yes, and the second collection will be taken up for Stephen's new iPad.
Exactly. Well, and that's why I said what I said in the opening. If this show is anything like the pre-show where we're trying to get ourselves together, it will be one heck of an outing. But I'm glad everybody's back. Thank you. Finally, we've had a chance to get together and do this. So I am stoked that we are all together again.
Me too.
Lots of things to talk about, and I've wanted to talk about with all of you. So how's it going?
And also, as I look at my screen,
Yes.
it's going good.
Uh-oh, wait a minute. He said,
You cut out for a second, Steve.
hear all that, so say it again.
Oh, no, I said as I'm looking at the screen, I noticed we're all in colors of purple here today.
Yes.
Gee,
Yes,
and
we are.
it's not even a Rose Sunday, so what do
I
No,
know it.
but we are.
we all got the memo, apparently.
Evidently.
Yes.
Evidently. Well, I am so glad you guys are back. I don't know how long this will last.
Well, I'll be gone the next 2 weeks on vacay.
I'm glad you're back too, because I get tired of answering all the questions.
Yeah, Linda, you're a trooper. You're a trooper.
She really does. She hangs in there, and there's only one homily because we both go to the same church.
So we go searching on the net to find
And
Father Barron.
honestly, like when I don't record with you ladies, on Monday mornings, Tuesday morning, I'll actually sit and watch it. But since I'm on here with you, I don't watch it again. So
Yeah, right. We know what we said.
So
Truly. Yeah. It's funny because we don't watch or listen to our own show.
I'm afraid.
Well, I have to listen to it when I edit it, to make sure it's okay. But other than that, I kind of leave it to everybody else. So how have we been, Stephen? I mean, the last couple of weeks without everybody since you've watched it. Have we been okay?
Oh, it's been great. Oh, yeah. It's been, like I said, I'll usually sit down in the morning because I'm up early. So once Beth leaves to work, it's me and Sebastian. We sit on the couch, and I'll put it on and I'll play it. And it's interesting because you can hear your bumpers and stuff much better once you're on the other side of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, well, that's my opinion anyway. Because it's you're not in it. You're seeing it from a different point of view. So
right, yeah. I worry more about. I try not to make them so loud that they like overkill us.
Yeah.
But sometimes in my ear I hear them a little louder, so I'll turn it down. Then you can't hear them on playback.
Yeah.
Right.
I go, well, that was useless.
Yeah.
I think everything's working. I hope so. I hope it's all working, because they're all laughing. It means it's all working. Good.
Yes.
Well, I want to get rolling. We have a lot of things to talk about since you're all back. And since you've been gone, we've added a whole new segment.
Yes.
See what happens, Steve?
Because we finally are getting feedback.
Feedback.
Yay!
I was gonna say I didn't know what you were talking about, but okay, feedback sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we're calling it Your Side of the World. And if I can ever fix this bumper, I'll be very happy. Because it's a little buzzy, and I don't like it. So you can tell I have had plenty of time during the week to fix the bumper.
Yes.
Yeah. My job, I don't think so. Not right now.
Go back to music, Joanne. You only work 2 days a week.
I should. Music, yeah, that's true. We only
How
do.
dare you say that?
Yeah.
Say it. I didn't say it.
I'm not responding. I'm not getting into trouble.
Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. Anyway.
Could it be?
Already taking over. First Side of the World is the last word on last week's word. So we have two. One's a short one because it has to do with we were dark because of my work. And this is from Tiffany in Buffalo, New York. I hope it's New York. There's not another Buffalo.
Is there another Buffalo? Yeah.
You never know.
Not that we're aware.
And good, okay. And she says, hello to everyone at Monday Morning Catholic. I've been listening for over a month now. Learned about you on Catholic Weekend. Thank you very much, Captain Jeff and company, for that. And subscribed shortly thereafter. You have quickly become one of my favorite podcasts.
Yay!
Oh, wow.
Happy. I love hearing your take on liturgy and music, especially since all of you work within your parishes. It's an excellent perspective. And I'm a liturgy nerd, so it's a wonderful fit. Thank you for the shows, and I hope you keep doing them from a long time to come. Well, I hope so too, Tiffany.
Yeah.
It just all depends on my job. And if I over here, how to do this if I can't.
Here we go again.
Linda, you're up.
No,
Linda's got the brand new iMac, so she could be up.
Joanne had to come over and show me how to work my phone in the car. So.
Hey.
I still
understand.
I still say that one Sunday we should all meet at one place and just do it in one big screen.
Sure.
I have no problem with that. It will be a little interesting, but I have no problem with that.
Pizza.
Pizza.
Just as long as you make me a nice lunch, Joe. No, I can't eat pizza. I can't eat pizza.
We'll figure out what you can do, Steve. No problem. No problem.
We'll figure it out.
Nice idea.
Right.
So thank you, Tiffany. It's nice to know that we missed when we're not here, because we don't know. We don't get a lot of feedback sometimes. And I know I tell people, go to iTunes, give us feedback. I haven't seen anything on the iTunes unless I've missed it in the last couple of weeks, which is possible. I'll go check. But this is the only way we know whether if you put something on our Facebook page or whatever. And I'm going to direct this to our friends. Okay, our lovely friends in Rhode Island who we know personally, who have opinions like all the time. Why aren't you guys saying something? It never stopped you before. So I would really love it if you would, if you're listening and you like it, or if you don't like it, be kind. But, let us know. We want to hear.
Be constructive if you don't like it, yes.
We're asking for your feedback. Okay? We could be terrible and just say, oh, we don't really care, and we'll just do whatever. But we're not.
We do care.
We do care.
We do care.
We do care.
Yeah, we do, and we would love to have. We'd still love to have a revolving seat here for clergy or anyone else who might want to drop in from time to time. If you have a Google, a way to do Google Hangout, which is how we do this, we would love to have you occasionally. But we don't know that if you're not saying anything. And she smiles sweetly. For those of you.
Maybe what we should do, Joanne, is
Yeah.
we should put names in a hat and then draw out, and then it's like a surprise every week.
It'd be a surprise on them if they don't have Google Hangout. And they don't know what they're doing. But that might not be a bad. This is all off the cuff right now. That might not be a bad idea if you want to be included in this, and we will then tell you when we record. Be ready. And if you want, put your name in a hat and I'll pull one out and you'll get the invite. Maybe that's not a bad contest. We have not had any contests yet.
Oh, I like that. It's like The Price is Right.
Yeah. I need a new car.
I did need a new car. And
I don't have that one. Darn. You know that much.
Anyway.
Well, let's see. That's not a bad idea. So let's work it. Let me see if I can put something up on the Facebook page. Yeah, and we'll put it up on the Facebook page and look for it. Okay, Facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic. So take a look in the next couple of days, and if you see we've decided to do this, please throw your name in a hat, and this could be interesting. We will have to get a regular time to record. However, right now we sort of bounce around, and I already know next week I'm working on Sunday all day. So it'll be interesting on how we're going to figure this one out. But we will. Moving on to our friend John in Yakima. He gave us a little bit of insight on their rite of acceptance, because they did a rite of acceptance last week. I think we're going to talk about that in the right stuff, so we'll hold on to that for a second. But he did give us a little insight on what his pastor said last week. So he said the pastor started by asking the question, which brother are you most like? If you remember, it was the father with the two sons, which shows up a lot. Most of us have some of each brother. As Ezekiel tells us, we need to mend our ways and turn back to God on a regular basis. We're not perfect and should not expect to be, but we need to keep trying. We need to be persistent. Often in confession for penance, he asked the penitent to go into the church for a while and pray for the courage to keep going, to keep turning back to Christ. We are all called saints. Saints were not perfect people, but they kept on trying. That's a good. That was
a nice take. I like that.
Segue. Yeah, I like that. And then he says one of his favorite hymns is the Mormon hymn, Come, Come, Ye Saints. Now, I know it's done to one of our regular tunes, and I can't off the top of me remember.
Is that the one to Beach Spring?
I don't. I'm almost thinking Heiferdal, but I'm not.
I'm trying to remember what his email said.
Yeah, he didn't. No. He didn't
specify. This was in the homily.
Okay. Gotcha.
Portion. One of his favorite hymns is the Mormon hymn, Come, Come, Ye Saints. It gives us hope for eternal glory. The catechumens and candidates show us that it's never too late to turn toward God and His gospel. So we weaved in the rite of acceptance that was going on. We need to be examples of God's holy work in the church and lead them to Jesus Christ. That was really good.
Yeah.
Nice homily from one. So here you go. This is what we're looking for, people. We're looking for feedback from your neck of the woods. And neither Linda nor I, even though we were scrambling last week, saw anything about the saints. So that's a good segue. See, it's different all around the world. Please, we'd love to have more of your feedback. So we thank John and we thank Tiffany, and we ask if you want to get in on this feedback frenzy. Please, MondayMorningCatholic.net has a comment box. You can leave your info there. You can email it to us as they do at MondayMorningCatholic@gmail.com. You can put it up on the Facebook page for other people to see and comment. There are some people who do that. Or You can call us on the feedback line, 774-955-0659. John also sent voice feedback, so somebody's using the line at least. I do get it when I do get the voice feedback, and I do check it. So please, we'd love to have you. All right, let's get on, however, to this week's.
Do you hear what I hear?
Do you hear what I hear for the 27th Sunday in Ordinary Time? Okay, here we go. This poor vineyard. I feel so bad. This was called, I wanted to call the first reading #Vineyard Fail.
Yeah, vineyard fail is right.
That's all I could think of in church this morning was #Vineyard Fail. You have a nice garden, and what do you get? Wild grapes.
Wild grapes.
Instead of what you planted. So I have to admit that it was just nothing good about the vineyard this week.
Wow.
The Isaiah and the Psalm, which was the proper Psalm was Psalm 80, the vineyard of the Lord is the house of Israel, and the gospel all had to do with vineyards. Now, all of us do like to drink wine. I wasn't even going to go there, but I decided to.
Or eat grapes.
Or eate grapes. Okay. Well, I like the wine better than the grapes.
Oh, grape juice.
Or grape
I
juice.
like the grapes.
She likes the grape. Hey, fine. But this analogy of Israel being the vineyard is the house of Israel. Boy, is that a telling tale.
Yes.
Boy, we're all a bunch of sour grapes, apparently.
Apparently.
Wow, you're getting great chicken.
Yeah, and then you get Paul in Philippians saying, "But have no anxiety at all."
Yes. Well, but he's telling us to go after what is true and what is pure and which might make us into better grapes. So.
One would hope so, but it's just all this Debbie Downer stuff this week, and then you just have Paul saying, "But have no anxiety."
Yeah.
Great, wonderful, made me feel good, and I just love it when Paul keeps saying that. Have no anxiety.
Yeah.
I have plenty of anxiety in my life, as I'm sure a lot of people do.
Well, it was even more interesting when you think of the context in which Paul was saying it. People were running after them with swords. So
True.
It's like, have
Don't
no
worry.
anxiety.
Be happy.
But see this. But see that. Well, but see this. There's the correlation. He's saying, have no anxiety. Have a nice glass of wine.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, you got it.
There you go.
There it goes.
Yeah.
So, in the midst of all this doom and gloom and sour grapes, what do we have? We have at least 3 different homilies, so I will refrain. I'll just do my commenting gig. And, of course, exhort people, why aren't you listening to Father Barron at wordonfire.org, who, by the way, preached on Philippians.
Of course.
And did not even touch the vineyard. He preached on Philippians, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear what everyone else heard and have Linda share what we heard this morning. So who would like to go first?
I'll go first, if you don't mind.
I was going to say I'll pick Steve.
So I actually have 2 homilies because we had 2 priests. So,
And did your pastor come back from Rome yet? Did you hear?
No, he's still in Rome.
Okay.
Yeah,
For those
God
of you,
bless him.
For those of you who want to know, we had a couple of deacons ordained this past Tuesday, I guess, on the Feast of the Guardian Angels.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah. No, it was the ordination. I think was. Did you say Tuesday?
I said Tuesday.
No, I think the ordination was.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
October 2nd is what I'm thinking. That was Thursday, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, I think
October 2nd was Thursday.
Yeah, that was Thursday. All right.
Yeah.
I meant number 2. I was looking for the number 2. Sorry.
Yeah.
That went off the rails today.
So
Right, go ahead.
and so while the pastor's away, we had two priests helping out. So everything always goes amok.
Mm-hmm.
The lector didn't show up last night.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
Let's see. What else? it's just all the little things that, Father Zeno would be on top of. Those things take a little bit of a nosedive. But the music was good. So,
of course it was.
yeah.
Of course it was.
But sometimes I think to myself, I have to make up for the missing lector, or some of the light, the church lights aren't turned on because the sacristan forgot, things like that. So yeah. But we had I had 2 homilies, and the first one was Father Quartermanch, who's a senior priest in the diocese,
yes,
a sweet man.
Met him a couple times.
Father Norman Quartermanch, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and his big theme, and he kept saying this over and over again. His little catchphrase, if you will, is "To belong is to produce."
Oh.
Ooh.
So he said, and he picked up. He's good about saying something about each of the readings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
He kind of bounces between them. But he said, God's covenant with Israel, and any covenants really. The nature of a covenant is there's rights, but there's also obligations in the covenant. So he said, to belong to this covenant is to produce, to be fruitful. And he said, we are all called today to be productive members of our believing communities. And he said, that's where I think some of the gloom and doom was, because they weren't doing a very good job, obviously. So he said, despite our baptismal call, which by its very nature says we need to be productive, he said sometimes we fail to do that.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, his focus was we need to be better at contributing to the overall good of our parishes and of the church at large, and that the very nature of the Eucharist, which is our food and drink, thus enables us to turn around and be food and drink to others. And I know sometimes some people get a little touchy about when we say that we're supposed to also be the body of Christ to other people,
Which I don't understand why.
I don't understand.
No,
why.
and I don't either. But there's just some people say, I can think of a few instances where I've heard comments from people, especially in some of the theology of since we're musicians too, some of the songs that we have, about us being bread for the world, if you will, So that was his homily, and then we had Father Colello, who I take notes, and I have to write fast because he doesn't mess around. He doesn't waste any time.
Yeah, you got to record it, Steve. You got to record it.
I know. Well, let me get a new iPad. We'll do one battle at a time. So.
Okay. All right.
But he talked about the very nature of vineyards. Like there's something attractive about vineyards to people. And years ago you would just say that vineyards were, in like the posh sections of town or whatever. He said, but the whole song of the vineyard, which was the first reading, it's obviously the analogy of God and His people, obviously, and then he went right over to the gospel, and he said, it was spelled out that the disobedience of the people, in other words, basically, they asked for it.
Well, yes,
as far as God's anger and wrath, they asked for it, And he said, how often greed and selfishness, and especially today, in our world, indifference spoil the garden, spoil the vineyard, and that's true. And then he used an example of. Back in World War II, I guess there was a town that it was Christmas time, and it was one of the towns that had the concentration camps in it. And he said, this indifference, he said, and this is how he exemplified indifference. He said, there was a church in the town, and they're all singing Silent Night, Holy Night on Christmas Eve, and yet down the street is the concentration camp where all these bodies were being burned,
Yeah.
And he said, it's the indifference, and he's very clever. He tied that indifference into the fact that October is Respect Life Month.
Wow.
So he said, and it was quick. So I got it. My pen was writing very fast. So he said, we're not all on public platforms, because I know here in Rhode Island, I think you all know what's been going on in the political world lately.
Yes, we talked about
it. We talked about it last week.
We did.
So he said, not all of us are on the public platform to speak out about things. He said, but being the workers, we need to work hard enough to save what's left of the grapes. And he said, but we are all called to prayer and to pray.
Oh, very good.
So.
Very good.
Those are my two homilies.
Yeah, it's the vineyard. The vineyard is really a timely analogy with what's going on in the world right now. So I'm happy to see we're taking a lot of different angles for it. Nance, what do you got?
Well, Father took kind of where Father was a little quick about it. Father took the whole homily from the Respect Life mentality.
Okay.
From the get-go. And he said there's a person that has affected every single one, and he starts to tell the story about a pregnant college student in 1954 who had the choice of maintaining the life or not.
Mm-hmm.
And the long and the short is she chose to have the life continue, have the baby born and adopted. And that child was adopted by a family in California. Now, this is what was said. If there's any little changes in the story, because people can Google this, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And this person grew up with this family and became Steve Jobs.
I knew that's where that was going. Yep.
And so here's a man in his wisdom and his brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
We all have something that's a little bigger than a credit card, and it can do this and that and the other for us in all of our daily lives.
Yep.
So that was yes, there you go. So he chose that as the beginning, and he said so he's talking about Respect Life with regard to pregnancies and abortions and such, but he also went to the Respect Life from the beginning and the end.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And in between, which is what Father Colello, Stephen, was just saying, and the in-between part that we say is Respect Life. Well, when we say Respect Life, it's so much bigger than terminating an abortion or euthanasia or such. It can be just widened greatly to how do I treat you? How do I treat the person here? Yeah. And it's a Respect Life as we live with each other.
Yep.
And he said there's been so many changes in our society in recent years. And he gave many examples, the shootings, so many different things. He says, what has happened? What has happened? And every time he gave an example, he said, what has happened? Mm. And it was very poignant. The further he went on, everybody's, yeah. Life. Oh. Whether it's at the beginning, at the end, or in the middle. And it was kind of for me, it was a challenge in my everyday life. Mm-hmm. Do I fail sometimes? Mm-hmm. And it just reminded me I've got to be more cognizant of this and aware. And so I really enjoyed his homily.
Yeah, again, we're stuck in that mode of Respect Life is just, in the womb. Mm-hmm. It really has to go across the board.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You can put bullying in there. You can put gossiping in there.
Everything. Yep.
Everything along the line. And it's and having dealt with elderly parents, the other side of it is just as as daunting as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good to hear that mentality now is coming out when we have October and we have Respect Life Month, that now we're hearing the whole broad spectrum.
He
just
really,
the
I think it was a very well put challenge to all of us. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, well, it's
Man.
true. There are certain politicians who are all for being, or I should say, all against abortion.
Mm-hmm.
But then once the babies are born, they don't want to feed them. So, you know,
Amen.
So yeah, there's a Respect Life that needs to continue. Absolutely.
yeah,
And I'm in Massachusetts, folks, so I don't know all that they're talking about in Rhode Island. I know some, but not all.
we do.
So I know.
We do.
I know.
We do. We most definitely do. And it's going to get even more famous as we get
worse. Yeah.
today. Okay, Linda, tell them what we heard.
Okay, what we heard is he started out by saying that he said when most people think of the God of the Hebrew Scriptures, they think of the God of wrath and anger and jealousy, and but he said if you listen closely to our first reading, God is a loving caretaker. He spades the vineyard. He clears it of stones. He plants the choicest vine. He builds a watchtower. Does this sound like a wrathful, vengeful God? And then he does everything he possibly can for the vineyard. And what does he get? Sour grapes.
and then he smotes the vineyard.
Yes. Yes. But then, yes, he does smoke the vineyard afterwards. He becomes the vengeful God who doesn't get what he wants and now smotes the vineyard. Okay.
I'm sorry, that's my favorite line. Smote.
Smote, yes. You should have sung the psalm today. We were smoting all over the place.
That was a tough one this morning.
Woo, yes.
It was. Yeah.
The wild boars and the beasts of the fields and
tearing this up and that up and gee whiz.
Hey.
Anyway, he goes on to say that he talked about free will. Our readings today, he said, reminds us of our free will, and it can be looked upon as either our greatest blessing or our greatest curse. God blesses us and showers us with love and gives us strength, but never forces us to do anything. We are free to allow ourselves to be cultivated into good grapes, and we are equally free to end up as the wild grapes in the story. And the choice in the end is ours. And of course, then he goes on to talk about that in the time of Jesus, the landowners, this was a common thing for the landowners to do. They would fix up their vineyard and then they would lease tenants because they weren't going to do the hoeing and the manuring and all that stuff. So they would lease tenants, and this particular man went away. And he was saying to get into the mindset of these tenants, they were thinking, and it was evidently common at the time, that if the landowner died and had no children, the tenants who had been working the land would inherit it. Because when you read it, you think, well, we're going to kill his son and inherit the land. How the heck is that going to happen? Are you going to leave your land to somebody who killed your son? But they would have waited, I guess, until the landowner died. So in the parable, the tenants wanted to inherit the vineyard, and of course this wasn't going to happen. And what he goes on to say is that God blesses us so much, and at times we are like the wicked tenants in the parable. He did go so far as to say that most of us will probably not kill anybody. I'm sitting in the back going, not a good day.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But he went on to, this is one of the few times I've actually heard our pastor lay things out in words like, oftentimes we will, for our own good and purposes, stretch the truth. That's called lying.
Yeah, he actually said that.
Yes. It's not, he's not glossing it over. It's like, oh, it's a mistake. Nope. That's called lying. To you school kids, who glance at the papers of your classmates who may be more intelligent than you or get better grades than you and think nothing of it, that's called cheating. And for those of you who gather around the water cooler and talk about other people or gather around the blog and talk about other people in a negative way, that's called gossip.
Dang.
And our Holy Father,
Zinger.
Yep.
Our Holy Father has come out against that.
Yes, it has.
So often we feel that what we're doing, the ends justify the means. And what he's saying is that it doesn't. Your means have to be as good as your ends. And so may we allow the blessings that God showers on us to develop into good grapes.
He was on point this morning.
And I was hungry by the time he got done. I really wanted a grape.
Grape, yeah. No, he was really on point this morning.
Yeah.
And happy to see him calling a spade a spade.
Yes, yes.
Basically, it was kind of nice to see that. I don't know how it was going over in the seats. I know Kevin and I kind of looked at each other and kind of silently nodded.
Well, hey,
But again,
spade a spade. If you're not telling the truth, you're lying. We can't put a gloss over this.
Right. She's really on the roll right now. But no, I mean, so look at this. We've got 3 slightly different takes on the vineyard.
Yes.
There is a commonality thread running through it, but between Respect Life and Free Will, and if somebody was doing Respect Life, they could have done the Free Will thing there too.
Yeah.
This is good, and it's so timely with the things that are happening right now and
terrible things.
Trying to make sense out of it all. I think our homilists would do us better to tell us the truth.
Yes.
Rather than to tell us what we want to hear, which is, God loves us and everything's going to be okay. Well, we all know that. Yeah. But there are things we can do and there are ways that we can change. Yeah. And I know, hey, I'm one of those people that will sit around the water cooler.
Oh, yeah.
I think we all can find our spot in what Linda was saying. Absolutely.
Yeah. I sit around. I'm honest.
Yeah.
I do less of it now than I used to. But, yeah, I mean, we're musicians. We just do that. It's part of the DNA.
It's like we're bad. It's like, did you hear what he sang for the entrance hymn?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what you ladies are talking about. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're an angel.
Steven.
Steven, see that halo behind me?
Yeah.
Busted halo.
Now, and you know what's funny, Joanne? You bring up the whole homiletics issue of calling a spade, and and it's interesting because as with any ministry or whatever, but we've got it would seem to me that as many parishes as we have, there's as many different
Go ahead,
lost
Steve.
the word.
It's been a few weeks. Go ahead.
Go, Steve.
No,
messages.
just as many parishes as we have, you also have different schools of thought on what homily should be.
Yeah, I think there are some who always want to deliver the good news and think that it always has to be positive.
Right.
And then there are others who, I mean, they've gotten away from the old days when everything was negative. It's like the fire and brimstone. You're all going to hell if you don't do this, that, or the other thing. I like a healthy mix, but because there are times when you need to tell us that we're good. And there are times you need to tell us we're acting like schmucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I came from, there was a parish I attended, and most of the times during the homily, they would give a history lesson as to what context the readings came from, which was great.
That's always helpful.
But there was, yes, true, but there wasn't a lot of let's apply it to us now type of mentality.
Yeah.
Okay? So you left and said, well, okay, that's what he meant for them. What does that mean for me? You always left with that question.
Right.
Yeah.
I did anyway.
And it could have been a particular style, too, to be able to give you the background, so now you apply it. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to give it one thought, and Stephen's going to give it another, Linda's going to give it another, you're going to give it another, too.
And that's a little tricky, because as homilists, that what they're trying to do is interpret and break open.
Yeah.
So there has to, in interpreting and breaking open, there is application.
Right. That's what I didn't feel we were getting.
Yep. Yeah. If you leave out the application part, it's kind of,
Because believe me, I love history, and so I enjoyed that part. But I wanted what you just said. I wanted the application to my life.
I like a presider, a homilist who tells us, even from their experience, if they don't want to tell us what to do, at least they can say, look, this is how I've applied it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I've worked at it. I can respect that, and then from myself get something out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The ones who are shy on that, it's kind of like, please, guys, you got to do us a favor, because some people are looking at you saying, how do I do this? But again, it's still a response to a long time ago when it was always, and you must do this and you must do that, or you go to hell.
Yeah.
So you end up with, oh, I missed it.
Could it be?
Again. So I know I can't use that one enough some days. It's just it sort of segues nicely into other things.
It does.
So let us segue. Thanks to our homilists and what they do every week and how they prepare. We really, I don't know if I've said that enough here on our little show, but we really appreciate the time and effort that goes into these homilies and putting this message together for us. So thank you, gentlemen, very much for what you do, and keep on doing it well. We will pray for you. Moving right on to, let's go to our liturgy and ritual section, quite affectionately known as. Okay. We had a quasi-ritual this past weekend called the Blessing of the Animals.
Yeah.
In every good parish in the world, somebody had to, go and bless all the animals in the parish, because it was the Feast of St. Francis. God love him.
Mercifully, we did not do it at Mass.
Thank you.
No, but you had 27 dogs and 2 ferrets, Father John said.
Yeah.
Oh, 27 dogs and 2 ferrets.
27 dogs and 2 ferrets.
But
no cats?
No snakes.
No cats.
And no snakes.
No
snakes, no tarantulas.
Yeah,
he said he wasn't going to bless snakes.
My pastor in the collaborative said that he was not going to bless ostriches and I forget what the other one was. He didn't want to see something else. But I said snakes, and he went, no, I don't mind snakes.
No.
But it was, I forget what his basic joke was, ostriches and something else he wasn't going to.
John was not blessing snakes.
Oh, I don't think he was going to bless cats. Was it cats?
Oh.
Might have been cats.
People would have cats.
Yeah. But it's a matter of getting them into the cage to get into the
problem.
Oh yeah, my cat would not.
No,
because that means something else.
Well,
yeah,
he said, I hope nobody brought a cat that wasn't confined, because we had 27 dogs.
Yeah.
If they'd have brought a cat, we would have been in big trouble.
That's it.
I don't understand why dogs and cats just can't get it together. They just
some
do
do
like each other.
Some do, and they're very
Some
ahead
do.
of their time.
Yes.
At one point, we had a white deaf cat and a Saint Bernard.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And they cohabited very well. They were best buds, actually.
Well, since my husband is allergic to cats, I will never know if a cat and a dog can get along in my house. So that won't happen.
The blessing is going on now down at St. Teresa's via horseback.
Oh, Oh, that's right. They do horses.
And I think that's why our deacon left, so he wouldn't have to get back on a horse this year. Our deacon, we can use prayers for our deacon, Deacon Dr. Tim Flanagan. He's over in Liberia.
That's right.
For a couple of months. He's a doctor of infectious diseases, and he's over there helping.
Oh, God love him.
The folks.
Yeah.
So he
Especially
could use all of
now.
the prayers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's the reason he went last month. So
Right.
prayers for Deacon Tim, Deacon
Yes.
Doctor.
The deacon
Yes.
doctor, yes, we could, being out there, God bless him.
Yeah.
But I think that's why he went, so we wouldn't have to get back on horseback again.
Well, see, this is where the domestic church, needs to have something in their ritual life where you bless the animals. After Thomas Aquinas tells us that they have no souls and we won't see them in heaven, and boo on top of that. But because they play such an important part in our lives, the church has a ritual every year, somewhere around October 4th, where the animals are blessed. Because if you look in Genesis, we are masters of we're supposed to take care of them. It's part of God's creation we're supposed to take care of.
Yeah.
So, but I wasn't home last night to take the girls over there, which one of mine could use a little blessing right now. Thing that can't see and throws up and does all kinds of.
It could use the blessing.
Because she definitely could have used a blessing.
Put her up, put her within.
Yeah.
Downstairs sleeping. Please let her sleep.
You can call up Father John on the iPad and take him down.
There you go.
Another use for Google Hangouts or Skype, or FaceTime.
Yeah, there you go.
And sadly, I don't think in the Bristol area there were any blessings of animals. So
really?
Oh well.
I'm surprised.
I don't think so. Which is a shame, really. It's a shame. But because I think on the other side of things, it also provides some fellowship for people to get together with their pets,
Absolutely.
I agree.
And nobody has to really organize anything or feed anybody.
Show up.
Everybody shows up with their dogs
Show
and
up.
cats and
On leash, thank you.
And ferrets.
And 2 ferrets, yes.
2 ferrets.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Okay.
I read that when Father John posted. I just went hysterical.
Yeah, 2 ferrets. Okay.
The things you miss on Facebook. Now, I alluded to earlier that John from Yakima had talked about a rite of acceptance, and this is around the time and RCIA, because it's that time of year. I enjoy knowing that folks are doing it and not waiting for a specific day, because I get very, very nervous that they want to put the RCIA on an educational clock. And say, okay, you've got to do it like the first Sunday of Advent, which let me get on my soapbox. That one kills me. And then, of course, we have to do we get them in. We do rite of acceptance in December. We send them off for enrollment and all that at the cathedral, and in March, and then April, and we do it again every year. Rite of acceptance should be going on all the time. Whether it's now, whether it's for this year, next year, whatever. The RCIA should have a time limit. But it's nice to see, here it is October, and we've got a rite of acceptance already, which means we've done a pre-catechumenate prior to September, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm just getting on my soapbox with the RCIA.
Yeah, well, you can get on your soapbox all you want, but...
I know.
But here it comes.
Listen, I've been working in this program since it started in the parish. And it's, first of all, it's really difficult to just leave it wide open and tell them they can come in and out whenever they want, because they go out and you don't come back in. And they feel, I think, a little more secure if they are on some kind of a schedule. And Father John never rushes them. He always says to them, if you feel you're not ready for the Easter sacraments, we'll wait another year. That's okay,
But you keep providing something for them, Linda, right?
If they want it, yeah.
Good.
If we have to do but we have to put some kind of a timetable on it. Otherwise, even with the timetable, we've had people who are like, they want to get confirmed, and that's it. and they want to get confirmed, and they miss, 3/4 of the classes, and it's and they, you rarely see them at mass, and they kind of abuse it if you leave it.
Well, I also don't want to appear loosey-goosey either. Before I let Steve say something, I don't want to appear loosey-goosey on it either. But what bothers me is when you stick it into a really rigid, okay, we will not do acceptance for you until you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. If people can sometimes come into pre-catechumenate and go into catechumenate and then stay in catechumenate for a while, but we shouldn't be rushing them towards the sacraments either. I'm just saying from what I have experienced in some places, it's almost like a school activity.
Yeah, I know it's fairly set up that way in our parish, and not because he doesn't. Father John definitely sees this as a process.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Father John does, and the team does.
Right.
The RCIA participants don't always see it as a process.
Okay.
They see it for them as something to be completed.
Right. Okay, Steve. I'm sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I think maybe that revolving nature of the RCIA would depend on if you have I would think if you have a large parish with many people in the program, I suppose that would be easier than if you've got 4 or 6.
Which is what we usually have.
And unfortunately in the parish that I'm in, we don't even have RCIA.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's just the old school. Anyone that's looking for a sacrament,
call the rectory.
See Father.
Call Father, and then you have a class. And I've actually talked to him about that, and that's his take on it. Right. So, but I would think that if you have a larger parish and you've got 40, 50 people, I don't know, and I'm not a director of religious ed. I mean, Joanne, that's your area of expertise.
By default.
Well, I mean, it would seem to me the more people you have, the easier it is to keep things going. So.
And I've never been in a parish that would have 40 or 50 in a process like that. Maybe 2, 3, 5, maybe max 6.
Yeah.
We had a family one year, but that would be my experience. I feel you. I started to say earlier. I do feel you need to give them a sheet of dates for classes, if you will, a schedule. You have to.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't want to sound like I'm loosey-goosey here.
No. I know you're not.
But what I'm saying, what times happens, and I've experienced this, is where you have someone in an irregular circumstance, and you know that they're not going to be able to make the sacraments that year, and you have to work with them to not feel like it's a failure.
No.
You always, but see, that's what I'm saying. Some people think if they can't do it, they're not going to get into it until they absolutely can't. That timetable, and that's where you say catechumenate is an open-end process. It's more important that you become a catechumen. And I'm speaking strictly catechumens because candidates. Are a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm. But because we only have a half a dozen on a good year, all right, on a good year, we put the cats in the cans together.
No. Yeah. Okay, too big a topic to get into today.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's I will probably because I have that sense in RCIA of timelessness, of that kind of timelessness. That's why I can do something like Generations of Faith, because it's messy. Maybe that's how come I can do something like the Chosen confirmation program, because it's messier and it's strict. I'm not afraid of that, and I'm not afraid to teach people that not to be afraid of that, because guess what? Life is not on a schedule.
No, although nowadays a lot of people's life is on a schedule.
I know, and so is this podcast.
I know.
So we're moving.
Okay.
So the fun.
Oh, Joanne, you're tough today. You're tough today.
You know why? Because I'm really trying to keep us
it to an hour. Yes.
Because we've gotten off the hour and 15, and I don't know, again, feedback will only tell us whether or not the hour and 15 is okay, but they're not feeding back, and they might be going away. So I want to make sure. So moving right along, and we will be skipping over our technology section because we basically already talked about it, and moving right along into Catholics in the news and pop culture called What's the Buzz? These are two that we held over from last week. The first one was we put up on our Facebook page an article talking about Mark Wahlberg. Now, if y'all remember Marky Mark from the 90s, those of you old enough to remember Marky Mark, he's quite...
Who's that?
He's one of the Wahlbergs. Well, he was never a New Kids on the Block, but his brother Donnie still is, and he's on Blue Bloods, so that's a whole nother pop culture reference. But Mark Wahlberg is a movie star. He's basically a movie actor, and he's a father of four and a staunch Catholic.
Yeah,
he goes to mass every day. Okay, and he's willing to talk about it and tell people that he does this, and tell people that he can't do what he does without God being first and foremost in his life. How refreshing.
God bless him.
I mean, I would love to see him be, a little bit more of a role model to people. He doesn't, he's had his past, he's done his, crazy stuff, and he credits a Catholic chaplain in prison for turning his life around at 17.
Okay.
And of course we know he's from Massachusetts, so I'm sitting there going, which guy was it?
Yeah.
Which one did it? But you can't make that stuff up. And when I see something like that, I like to call people's attention to it, because everyone thinks that Hollywood is so shallow and there isn't anything running deep there at all. And yeah, there is. There are Christians, there are Catholics, there are people living out their faith. They may not be as loud as the others, but I think it's important to know who they are. And whether you want to support watching his pictures or...
Yeah, I would.
I would, because this says this has worth. This is somebody who's discriminated. He was in The Boxer. What was it called? The Boxer. I forget. It was the one with Amy Adams.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was about Yeah, he was also
the name.
in The Perfect Storm with George Clooney.
Okay.
So he picks his movie roles well. He's not... He doesn't get in trouble, doesn't drive his car.
Yeah.
We don't hear about him in the tabs.
Getting arrested, DUI.
Right. So when I saw this, and he happened to be interviewed by our friend there, Piers Morgan, who, is a Catholic and says and does quite some strange things. It's truth. Look it up. I'm not making it up.
It's true.
Cooler stuff. But I want to call people's attention to that here you got a guy, 4 kids, goes home, from work every day, puts them to bed, gets up in the morning, goes to church.
Church, yeah, whoa.
But that always strikes me as why do we find that such, like people will say to me, like when they meet me, or oh, you work for the church? it's
like that's a problem.
Or like, for instance, like they'll see me in Beth at Shaw's. Oh, I'm surprised to see you here. But I have to eat.
I know.
So
really?
it just it always kind of always made me laugh when we, that's like one facet of his life, and it's a good facet. But some people get so intrigued by it. It's interesting. I find it interesting.
I think it's that the work that he's chosen to do, that he's very good at. You don't find this mentality, this action.
Good point.
Very,
that's a good point.
Very often, and because of that, all we hear is the potential bad stuff, the rumors that we were talking about earlier that shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And so it is refreshing when somebody is in an industry that is so laced with things that might be contrary to the Christian faith, Catholic faith, somebody who lives his life and is open about it and is willing to talk about it, and he still manages to be part of that industry. I think that's an excellent example.
Excellent. Yes.
I think it's important because I think a lot of people have thought that they've had to throw away their beliefs in order to work in movies or television or even music. You know, that you have to give that up for some reason, and you don't. You know, you can take that with you. So
right, it's not one or the other, right?
Right. So if somebody like that can take their life with them, why can't anybody else do it? Take it into the coffee shop, or take it into the business boardroom, or take it into and I get so tired because this is the Rhode Island thing, or maybe it's just all over the country, but your politics and your religion should be separate.
Oh yeah.
No. Absolutely not. You are who you are because of your faith. So you can't leave that out of the ballot box. You can't leave that out of the political arena. It is who you are. If people don't vote for you, that's their problem.
Yeah.
But I have more respect for people who actually hold to their convictions and put them out there. And as we talked about last week, okay, so the one running for governor said what she said. I'll respect her, but I ain't voting for her.
Yeah.
Right.
She said it. She could have been underhanded and not said anything and let us vote for her. But now I know I have the information. I have it. And as much as good as I think she would do in other areas, I can't let that slide.
And I'll add this to the Massachusetts side. There's a candidate in competition for the governorship, and I like this man, and yet I find out he's pro-choice, and that's a big piece for me.
Yeah.
As a Republican? Really?
I don't know if he's Republican or not. Maybe, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I heard that the other day, and I'm going, oh, well.
Well, what am I saying? Republican Rhode Island is also pro-choice.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. So that is our responsibility to look at what do they stand for.
They think they're going to get the women's vote.
Yeah, I think that's what they're looking for.
Well, I'm a
They're
woman.
They're looking for the women's vote.
Yeah.
And, we all know. Anyway, I'm not going there.
No. Again, that's another topic
show.
that's too big.
That's exactly, yes.
Can't hold it back anymore.
Let's let that one go.
I'll just take that.
In other Catholic news, we have the upcoming synod, which is actually now upon us.
Yes.
The synod on family life. Thank you, Jesus. If anybody read what I put up on Facebook,
I did. I saw it on Facebook this morning.
See, and I didn't get a chance to read it, Joanne.
Are you talking about
Austin Fleming's on my Facebook too.
What, Pope Francis?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking? Oh,
His
yeah.
address that he gave last night.
Yes.
Yeah. It was very Jesuit.
It was very wonderful.
But he's willing. He wants everybody to be listening, and
it was very potential.
Yeah. It spoke right to you. We must listen to the people.
Yeah.
And then he
was very potential to me
times. So it was like, yeah.
And we must listen to the workings of the Spirit, and be open to the workings of the Spirit.
Exactly.
I just, that to me, that's John the 23rd language. We must be open to the workings of the Spirit.
Very
and
much
listen to what the people are saying.
Yep.
I can't tell you. Well,
it doesn't mean, see, to the hardcore people, that'll mean, they want to dismantle everything.
No. Not what it means.
I didn't read that either.
But let's pray for the synod, because I think this is just the beginning, though. This part is just the listening phase. And then they're going to go off and analyze everything. And next year will be the decision and the putting forth phase.
Yeah.
Of putting it into action and practice. So this year is really important.
Yes.
I believe in the life of the church. So a couple of prayers for those folks who are listening, for those folks who are presenting, can go a long way, because apparently he wants to listen for the Spirit. And
Yes.
if somebody's that open, the Spirit will make itself known in ways we have no idea how it will work.
Yeah, I know.
This could get very interesting very fast. Quick side note in What's the Buzz, our friend Bishop Coyne is moving to the south.
I saw that.
To the south
I saw that.
of the Indianapolis Archdiocese, and he's going to be a regional bishop. So we send our prayers and good wishes and congrats to Bishop Chris.
Joanne, what does that
yes.
mean to be a regional bishop?
What it means is he has certain responsibilities now. He's being given responsibilities over these particular deaneries. We have this in the Archdiocese of Boston, even though Cardinal Sean is the big kahuna.
Yeah.
Regional bishops take care of the regions that they're in charge of. So if something happens, like in our region, for example, we go to Bishop Dewar.
Okay.
He's the bishop, so he's the next one up.
Okay.
I read the promulgation of this, and I can see where Archbishop Tobin wants to secure himself an auxiliary.
Yes.
For time and eternity, because their archdiocese, I guess, in landmass is huge.
Uh-huh.
So and there's a good concentration going across the line. Plus, St. Meinrad Abbey is in the south.
Oh yeah.
Very important piece of Indianapolis.
Sure.
So I guess what they've carved out a section where Bishop Chris he'll be the one in charge. Yes, he still has to report to Archbishop Tobin, but it's his to work with, which is good training for him.
Blessings. All blessings to him.
He's probably in the middle of boxes right now moving, but as we all know, they take on the life of nomad sometimes. But, good luck, and you've got our prayers, Bishop Chris. And when you finish unpacking and you've got everything settled, please come back. Love to have you
Absolutely.
on the podcast.
Yes.
All right. One last piece. The reason why I'm throwing up Big Fun quickly is because something has been going on in our part of the world, and I'm calling it Sleepless in Rhode Island.
Oh, dear.
In southeastern Massachusetts. All of a sudden, we are seeing, and it's funny, independent of anybody else, we're having sleep problems here.
Yes.
None of us are getting
I wonder
any
if it's
sleep.
the air pressure.
See the bags?
Yes.
See the bags?
Yes. We have no idea why it's happening. Perhaps we should be listening to Philippians and have no anxiety. But I just think it's comical that 3 out of the 4 of us have this week complained online in the middle of the night that we're sleepless.
Oh.
Well, I had a reason for mine, though. I had one night.
4 of us.
Yes,
so 4 of us?
I had one night where I was having a great. I mean, when you see every hour pass on the clock. But that was
sadly.
Yeah.
Very sad.
That was because my husband had a little surgery this week, so I was kind of worried
Paying more
about
attention.
that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I pretty much sleep like a rock. So.
Thank God, one of us.
I guess I'll chalk mine up to low blood sugar. That was mine.
There we go.
Because you got up and checked your blood sugar and was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Time for a snack.
Yeah.
My issue? I have no idea.
You have no idea. Mine is my 15-year-old puppy, who doing well, and will keep me up in the middle of the night. So, and I worry about her. So I hear one cough, and I'm.
So there you go.
Off the. But it's funny because I can I can lay there and sing every song in my head to try to put myself back. Or I wake up with the weirdest song titles going through my head.
Don't you plant any seeds. Do not plant any seeds.
Do not plant any seeds.
Okay, I won't. Because then they'll get up in the middle.
Because I have a
All
problem. I have
that
enough of a
seeds.
problem with that.
Yeah, I'll let it go. So please pray for us. We all seem to be sleepless lately. And
So perhaps maybe so maybe one time we should all wake up at like 2 a.m. and do a podcast.
Do a podcast.
okay, you're on. We'll do the wedding.
Maybe
How's
that should be the one of all. We can all share our faux pas.
Yeah.
Could be the wedding one.
Oh,
Do the
I'm
wedding.
not sure how charitable that would be at 2 in the morning.
True.
Yeah.
I want to tell our viewers and listeners that we will definitely be getting that wedding podcast out as soon as we can, all four of us, find a night that we can record this. So we haven't forgotten it. We're going to do the wedding one first. We'll think about doing a funeral one because we have also talked about issues there. But we will get to it. We will hang on. We figure wedding season is fading anyway, so we'll get all this stuff out, and then you go into the next one, and
I have two more weddings. I have two more weddings.
Yeah,
I
do
one
too.
more.
Well, this is good. At least they're getting married in church.
And you know what? Next year, I'm getting a lot of calls for next year too.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's good.
This is very good to hear. All right, well, our little time together has come to an end again, as usual.
Oh, well.
So if you want to, gee. I know we're all not going to be together again next week. Thanks, Nance.
Hey, my 40-year anniversary with my honey is more important than any.
Oh, yay!
You go, Nancy.
40 years, huh?
40 years.
All right.
Wow.
God love you.
Absolutely.
Good for you. Good for you.
We will be, hopefully.
And we'll miss you.
Well, we will. And I don't know when we will record next week. So, but again, look on our Facebook page and we'll tell you. See, I've had, while we've been doing this podcast, the idea of how to put this together in my head. So I think this is going to be a contest. This will be interesting. Again, if you want to send us feedback, MondayMorningCatholic.net, the com box, MondayMorningCatholic@gmail.com is the email, Facebook.com/MondayMorningCatholic, the voice feedback number 774-955-0659. Guys, I've missed you, and I'm so glad you were here this week.
Absolutely. Missed you guys, too.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for watching and listening and sending your feedback. We really do appreciate it. Pray for the Synod. Pray for what's going on in this world, and be part of the solution, not the problem. Okay? So for all of us here at Monday Morning Catholic, thank you, and ciao for now.
Ciao.
Bye.